Our new partner who I'm really, really excited to announce we are working with. Super, super stoked. Thank you, Angie Huberman, for this connect. It's incredible. AG1 Athletic Greens. I've been using them for a while. I have them every morning on an empty stomach. Basically take one scoop and you put it into a cup or glass or mug of 8 ounces of cold water. And this is all your greens for the day. You're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens. Every day I take this. It's so good for my digestion, my energy. It's simple. It's easy. I don't like taking a lot of vitamins. This has been really, really helpful for me. I've had a lot of stomach issues my whole life, and ever since I've been gluten-free and taking the AG1s, it's really helped me in my stomach in the mornings. I love it. I'm so psyched that they're part of the One Life One Chance podcast. I'm sure a lot of people don't like eating greens, let alone drinking your greens, but I can tell you straight up, it's got a mild tropical taste, and the taste is actually really refreshing, and I really look forward to it each morning. Don't think it's just going to be just straight bland. It tastes really, really good, and it's good for you, so remember that. This one blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging. It's incredible, just one scoop, especially for musicians who are vegans or just musicians in general who want to get those daily greens. You can get the packets. It's incredible. I just gave some to my friend Derek from Sepultura. He traveled the whole entire world this summer, and he had those every single day. He said it saved him. I bring AG1s with me when I travel. It helps me stay healthy. You know the deal. If you're on tour and you are a picky eater, but you need to have your greens, sometimes catering doesn't have greens. Sometimes you miss the catering. Sometimes you miss the backstage food. Sometimes it's too late after the show to go get food that you like. So if you just have a scoop of AG1s in your hotel room before you go to bed, or you're in the hotel room at night and you're starving and you want something healthy, boom, life changer. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with some convenient daily nutrition. That's all you need, one scoop in a cup every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. This is it. I'm super psyched. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/OLLC. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/OLLC to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. This is incredible. I love it. It's just basic greens. For me personally, this has changed my life tremendously. I'm not a junk food vegan. I don't eat a lot of fake meats, so I'm strictly greens. And this has been a wonderful, wonderful new addition to my life. So once again, visit athleticgreens.com/OLLC. and get 1 free year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. athleticgreens.com/OLOC. Yo, Liquid Death, thank you so much for hydrating all my guests, taking care of me and my family and my friends. Love your water, love your brand, love what you stand for, love what you give back to the community. If you want to learn more about Liquid Death and how it started, listen to episode 115 with the co-founder, owner, and creator of Liquid Death, Mike Cesario. Just a punk rock skateboarding kid from Delaware with a dream. It's an incredible story, incredible journey. They have now blessed me with my own code. So if you go liquiddeath.com/Toby, you get free shipping on any items you order from liquiddeath.com. Thank you so much, Liquid Death. Death to plastic, murder your thirst, stay hydrated. You know H2O saves lives. This never happens. I hate my dog. But I don't know what if I can't find the other shit we did earlier?
Just keep going, and we'll go from wherever you want. If you want to start over, I can start over. Yeah. Don't worry. Don't fret.
It's just so crazy when you talk.
Yeah, I see that I'm not. I have.
You see your bottom weight, but she's on there, which is great. But you
can't find the other file.
I the whole time I do pods, I check on the wavelengths to make sure everything's good, because I'm anal about the sound, and it's just so weird that fuck it. I'm sorry, Gabby.
You don't need to apologize.
We're going to be here all day.
Going to be a while.
Well,
Bye, Chappelle.
I don't know what we should do in case. What if I can't find that stuff? I don't know what to do.
Just start over. You can just say it. Yeah. You lead, I follow.
You're going to be mad at me forever and never talk to me again?
I don't get mad about stuff like this.
On the podcast, you come out and say, this guy really blew it. That's good.
No, I don't. I have a little
Are
bit.
we chilling right now?
I have a little bit thicker
you have to
skin.
Be somewhere or
no,
something?
I have time. You're going to just have to direct me to your best eating place nearby.
Oh, we'll go.
So I can I'll get, instead of
I'll get you food.
No, settle down. Instead of cooking tonight, I'm just going to bring food home. It'll be great. Okay. Don't worry.
I think we should kind of redo it in a sense where we won't go through all the crazy
Great.
shit.
You lead, I'll follow. Okay.
Okay, guys, here we're back in the podcast. I don't know what happened. This never happened before. This is my 216th episode. My dog's been barking. I've been stressed about having Gabby on because she's a very amazing human, and she's here. I had all my notes ready and prepared, and something's going weird with the sound. And so now we're back on here, and she's so lovely and so sweet. We're going to kind of start over a little bit in the beginning.
Just take a deep breath.
And now Chappelle came in and he fixed everything. And this is why I do a DIY podcast in my kitchen, too. This is why I don't film it. I refuse to film my podcast, and not for many reasons, just the fact that I just like conversations on audio, and I think it's nice to hear people's voices.
Do you get stressed out when you're going to do one? Like
for you, I did.
You did? Why?
Because I started Googling you. There's like so many things you did. And it's like there's so many inspiring things you did, and I want to make sure we talk about them. I'm sure people can just Google you and see, but you have such an amazing life and journey.
Well, it's funny. I'll confess to you when
you are. Okay, go ahead.
When I am going to host, my podcast.
How's your deep dive?
and I also have to read all these books. I have all these guests that they're smarty pants and they write books.
I did see that.
And so I'm just like, oh, but my whole thing is like, what's the entry? How am I getting in there? And also, so I do get not nervous, but I'm always like, well, I hope I can do a good job and bring value to the audience.
Totally.
And also try to find out about the person. Because my other thing about this is you have all these people who have all this information, right?
Yeah.
But then how do they apply it into their everyday life? And
True.
That's what really interests me. Not just being like, give me 10 reasons or what's glutathione or whatever. It's like, yeah, cool. But also then when you're stressed out or you're this or you want to shove that piece of whatever in your mouth, how do you manage it?
Yeah.
So I totally can relate to getting ready for somebody who, you're trying to figure out how to navigate the whole conversation.
And then like not having you talk about the same shit you talked about. You have 2 books out, just everything you've done. But for the listeners that may not know who you are, which I'm sure they do, but just our connection, how we met, like I said, on the original thing, we met at Josh Brolin's on his birthday, started talking to you. My son obviously knows your husband. My son surfs every day. That was a cool moment, your kids, and just that energy of people there, Huberman, everybody. And then just to ask you to come on my podcast, and of course I'll come to the pod, and we really know each other. And then I do a deep dive on you, find out we were born the same year. Our podcast kind of started at the same time. You lost your father. Mm-hmm. And then when I see that, I'm like, okay, then there's that connection there, like, I don't know. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I like to get to know people.
I think, especially, we call it the honey line. Like when we always say, if you follow the bees, they take you to the honey. Sometimes I feel like if you meet 1 or 2 people and they introduce you to other people, it's like, that is the, kind of the honey line. And guys like Josh obviously are not going to, not have really exceptional people around him.
Yeah, it's such a unique group of friends that he has.
Oh yeah, well, because he's had so many lives.
Yes.
And I think a guy like that who is busy and has a family and young children, it's like there isn't a lot of extra time.
There isn't. And that was such a beautiful day. We surprise birthday. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was really great. And I know Brian Bowen Smith, who's a photographer.
He's amazing.
I knew him when he was an inline skater.
Okay.
And he used to host for we used to call it the internet back in like
the interweb.
Yeah, in 2000, there was this thing called Gravity Games. That was sort of like X Games, right? Yeah. So I was doing the TV for NBC, and Brian was doing the coverage like for the internet.
Gotcha.
And he was this young blonde, beautiful boy whipping all around, and so he was there too. But it's just funny to see people take their paths.
Yeah, he's got great energy, a great photographer. Yeah. Great story.
Yeah. So since we're doing a redo,
yes, let's go.
We'll just quickly recap what I think was important to you.
Yes.
So
you're amazing, by the way. This is awesome. We're like best friends, right? So go ahead, go.
Hey, tell me. One thing I've learned in life is very little is worth freaking out about.
I know. I just totally stress for no reason.
Yeah, it's okay though. I get it though.
You're so calming though. You have such a chill vibe that makes me like, dude, just chill.
It's okay.
Shit happens.
It does. My quick background is you mentioned my dad passed away.
Yeah.
And I was mostly raised in the Caribbean, which I think is important in the sense that it's kind of informed some other things that showed up in my life. I married, my husband's from an island, and people always think I'm Laird is an athlete. to say the least. And people go, oh, that's where you guys are, your common ground. Like you're both like into athletics and all this. And I'm like, actually, no, we're both Islanders.
Okay.
And so if you ask me what was the most significant part of that, besides maybe relating to my dad and my family and he's from Trinidad, and to that culture and the music and the food, and also just the order of importance, what's important. And I think that really helped me later. So I ended up, moving and living in Florida and then randomly going to college on an athletic scholarship. It was completely not a plan of mine.
Yeah. Did you have a plan?
No, I thought I was going to work in a gift shop. Quite honestly.
Wow.
Like I thought I'd be in a gift shop probably in the Caribbean selling, T-shirts that said like all my parents brought me from their trip to St. Thomas was this crummy T-shirt or whatever.
Totally.
Yeah. I think something important, and maybe you can relate to this doing music. There are people you meet and they have the calling early inside them. They have a drive. And then I think a lot of people you'll meet that maybe it turns out in the external world, they have what's called, kind of success.
Yeah.
But they just followed things that interested them.
Yeah.
And that's all I did. And I think like I have a daughter right now who's trying to play tennis. And what I wish I could take away for her was knowing people that were really good at something in sports. Like I wish she came from sort of maybe an academic family. So it was her own pursuit.
Her own thing, yes.
And that it was just for the sake of the pursuit.
Yeah.
And if the success comes as a byproduct, that's cool, but whatever. But now she almost feels all the pressure. And because also we know a ton of other athletes that have been successful. So in her world, she's like, well, if you do that, then that's the outcome that you're supposed to have.
Yeah.
And I would say that
that's interesting.
I fell into everything I did, but what I did the whole time. So from college, I was playing volleyball at Florida State. I was modeling in New York. I ended up paying to play after my second year because I thought, I'll take a chance on myself and I think I can make more money in modeling. And there was a lot of restrictions being on scholarship. And then when I graduated from Florida State and I lived in Miami instead of living in New York. And that's when I picked up the beach game. Now I didn't pick it up and think, oh, now I'm going to be a beach volleyball player. Yeah. I was like, this seems interesting and cool and it's fun. And then I was encouraged to move to California and then I had a professional career and some great things came out of that. But I think the more important point is because a lot of people, they try to find their thing, whatever their thing is, and they use the outside world to tell them maybe what that thing is supposed to be or what would be a cool thing or maybe a thing that you got money from. But I think when we can be more quiet and we can really tap into ourselves, then it's like, then in a way your success in a different way can be kind of endless. Yeah. Because it's your thing.
I agree 100%.
And Laird and I talk about this a lot because Laird is very similar. Laird didn't have kind of any sort of notoriety until he was in his mid-30s. As an athlete, that's late. Okay. And this is a guy who wouldn't compete in surfing. He only was on a quest to ride big waves, whatever. But the whole thing is, for him, he's like, I was already successful because I was pursuing what I wanted. Yeah. Like that was the success. Not, I love that. Did somebody know me? Was I a world champion? And for other people, that is their thing. That's cool too. Yeah. I mean, that's cool too. So after college, professional volleyball, I was, we talked about it earlier, very good timing for me. Yeah. Women's sports was sort of in an interesting place. Nike signed me to a deal. And it's interesting when you have a company like that, kind of behind you. It's huge. It gives you a boost. And so I used all my experience, from fashion and from all of that and kind of brought that into, I mean, the word image is ridiculous, but let's call it what it is. Yeah. And it was different then, right? You had magazines and very few outlets. True. They were in charge. They were the gatekeepers. So you had to have those relationships and you had to be good at that. Yeah. If you were going to go on the Today Show and you had 7 minutes, that's where people were going to see you. They couldn't go to your Instagram. You couldn't. Yeah. Yeah. So it was so different. It was a very cool and hard managing juggling act. And I see this with a lot of young people where they see how it works for other people, and they think, oh, that's what I should do.
Yeah.
But that's already being done.
Yeah.
You know?
It's a lot of work to do it too.
So, and by the time you do it, if it's been done, it's past.
Yeah.
So it's like almost better to stay locked into what do I think I could be good at? That was the other thing. I was always asking myself, what am I interested in, and what do I think I could be good at? And so I'm 53 years old. It's like I've been around a minute.
Yeah.
And people go, oh, you reinvent yourself. I go, no, I don't. I just keep following the things that interest me.
Yeah.
And try to be honest about who I am today, and not try to keep doing what I've done, which it's really hard.
It is hard.
Super hard.
Like doing a podcast, like for me and you,
yeah,
it's something different. It's just, you can still talk to people and connect, have cool conversations. It is a little therapeutic at times. But for me, I perform on stage in a band for 29 years. And starting this podcast before the pandemic really changed and saved my life, just having cool conversations. And it came from the people that grew up in my band, and then it's expanded and grown to something different. The listeners aren't fans of my band, or they're just fans of the pod. It's such a different thing, but it's a different outlet for me too, expressing myself and talking to people like you. And I've always tried to be like that. Since I've been in this band, I've done other things. I have a nonprofit. I speak at schools to kids. I had a merch line. I do just everything. And it wasn't just one thing. And I find things that I like and I love. I've been my own boss my whole life, pretty much, I think.
Yeah. And it's funny, people who are kind of don't, I think that there's people who go like, hey, when work's over, I want to leave work at work. And I don't really want to actually take it with me or keep it going. So I totally appreciate that. If you're an entrepreneur or an artist, you sort of, Sunday could be Monday. It's like, you're just rolling, right?
Same. It's hard to shut it off for me, man.
No, well, but that's what it takes. So it's like people just have to figure out what works for them, and not one is better than the other.
True.
And they all have their different set of challenges.
Yeah.
But it's like going back inside and being like, who am I? What things honestly am I pretty good at? What things really turn me on? And the other side of this is, are you solving the problems you want to be solving? Because if things are work and you're going to be solving problems, you don't want to be solving a bunch of bullshit you don't care about.
True.
So I try to have as many of the things on my plate that I'm trying to solve be things that I'm like, yes, I'm interested in solving this. Mm-hmm. And it's okay that it's difficult. And I might even be losing sleep over it because I believe in this stuff that I'm trying to solve.
Yeah. You've always been like that, right?
I think so. I think I was kind of fueled by this idea of looking for this now I know because I'm older, but this idea of like security.
Yeah.
And then you realize it doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
If like I bought a house at 19.
Wow.
I got showed up to practice late, and my coach is like, you don't show up to practice late. Mm-hmm. Right. And my coach looked at me and I was like, ugh. She's like, what happened? I go, I'm so sorry. I just bought this little townhouse like in Tallahassee. She's like, what? And I go, yeah, because I was looking for roots. Mm-hmm. I was looking for stability, and you can't find it in a building.
True.
But I tried at 19. It's like, makes sense. And so it's like, she was like, I've never had a player who does that. But that was sort of a real driving force, even more than someone asked me to go like, well, gosh, you've done a lot of things, or why do you think you're successful? I go, a lot of fear. Mm-hmm. And so how do you switch that as your motivation to like, oh, these are great opportunities, or a cool way to be, to be creative. But I think a lot of us, it's like, it's that chip, or it's that sort of broken thing inside us that can really make us successful.
Totally. And want to prove something, or prove to somebody or a family. Yeah.
Or like, you're so scared in a way you're not going to fail.
Yeah.
Wayne Gretzky, I know him a little bit.
Nice.
The hockey player.
Oh yeah.
And what I learned, people used to talk about Wayne's vision on the ice, like he could see everything, right? Mm-hmm. But I think I'm not talking out of school. I think he did not want to get hit. A little bit of fear made him hyper alert.
Yeah.
And I'm not suggesting he's like a chicken, but I'm saying like, there's a guy who drives the speed limit. He doesn't take a lot of risks in his life. He's super chill.
Yeah.
And you realize, and then I have other friends that play hockey that were fine with getting hit.
Yeah.
So in a way, it's that thing of it's a gift to us, but then how do we not make it turn against us when we don't need it anymore?
So true. And the fear thing too, I was just thinking about too, like, I guess it is a fear. Like my whole life, I've always I never wanted to do something that I didn't love. And I worked so hard to be my own boss, not have to clock in 9 to 5. I worked a bunch of different jobs. I worked when my son was born out here. I worked loading gear for Golden Voice because my band was on hiatus. But besides that, just music, or anything else that made me happy. And I think doing what you love, and I'm so lucky and blessed to be able to do what I love, is why I can have a more positive attitude about my life, because I wake up every day and I can do kind of what I want, make my own rules. And I worked hard for that and sacrificed a lot of relationships. I missed my grandparents' funerals. I missed weddings. I missed people's births, all different things you sacrifice in doing something you love to get where I'm at now at 53 years old. And now I still am my own boss, and I still play music, and I still feel young. And I feel like that's because I get to do, but there is that fear of I don't know, not fear of having to get a job, a fear of just I don't know what it is. It's just when I don't know what it is. It's a really good point.
I think
I don't see it as that, but
when you're a freelance person,
yeah,
because you could have listen, you could talk to the most well-known actors in the world. Once one movie's wrapped, most of them are like, well, is that going to be the last movie I ever work on?
So true. That's scary. Yeah,
I think it's part and parcel of not being too comfortable in life, not being scared, I think is a really healthy thing.
100%.
Because you keep your eyes open.
Yeah.
You keep learning. You don't lull yourself to sleep in the fake delusion that everything's okay. So
true.
But you don't want to be biting your nails or,
stressing.
No, because it's not worth it. And that's the other thing I've learned is I have a good friend named Byron Katie, and she has a program called The Work. And, it's everything's okay right now. We have all these worries and all these things.
Yeah.
And I think it's also remembering in this exact moment right now, it's okay.
Yeah.
But then you sort of think, and I have to be paying attention and sort of driving the ship, where we're going to go. Laird always says, if you don't have a destination, where are you going? So I think for people to set goals or have dreams or what have you, and be clear about what that is also good.
Yeah. I've always I don't know. It's a really, I never thought about it as fear, but I think it's a really good point. It's and also with haters and message boards and all that kind of negativity and reviews and different things about ourselves throughout our careers, music, whatever you do, the naysayers, they make me want to go so much harder, and they make me so much stronger. And I love that. Yeah. I don't know. It's such a weird thing.
I heard a great theory on that too recently. I don't know if it was on Rogan, or forgive me, I'm not going to give the right credit to who it was. But to build anything takes a million different little things.
True.
It's like bricks in a wall, right?
Yeah.
But for something to be destroyed takes one instance. And so what we have to realize is that also why we respond so radically. Someone could tell you 5,000 compliments. One guy is like, you suck.
One comment. I know.
But it's connected to that biology, because in nature, it just takes a second.
It's a really great
and so if it's just understanding that about this is part, humans, we think we're so clever because, we're sitting here with our computer and we have all this stuff.
Yeah.
Our biology is really driving the ship so often. And it's just realizing we weren't meant to have, 200,000 people, 1 million people be able to comment.
Yeah.
It was 100
anytime they want.
It was 100 people in your village.
Yeah.
And they would have had to say it to your face.
Yeah, to your face.
And you might have even had the opportunity to have a discussion about it.
Yeah.
They would have said, I don't like that you did that. And you'd be like, well, what do you mean? And then they'd explain it. And you go, okay, I could maybe see your side, or, hey, I'm going to punch you out, or whatever it was. But I think what we get so far from is realizing in certain ways, and it's great and it's convenient and all these other great things, but we're still these sort of biological, masses walking around.
Yeah.
And it's just not set up to do it.
Well, my son just walked in.
I know
here.
He got a haircut. I saw a video of you just beating the crap out of the drums. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's me.
I know. I saw. It was amazing.
Thank you.
Hi. Hi.
Okay, you guys leave now because we're in a podcast.
Oh, wow.
Because we already had technical difficulty. Now we're getting the groove right now.
He can take some hydrate if you want.
Yeah, I got some stuff for you guys too.
Okay, cool.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
There's been climbing.
Oh, great. No, but just
that's such a good point.
I think I'm remembering. So when we go like, why would I care what that person says? It's okay. It's meant there actually to protect you.
Yeah.
Because to make something great or big or build anything takes forever. And think about it. A tornado can hit the ground and boom. Like it's like, and that is life. And so, having enough sort of rack focus to be like, I can see that. I know how to navigate it, ignore it, but I also know how to honor that.
Yeah.
And not be like, what do I care? It's like, it makes sense, but we're not supposed to be living like this.
Mm-hmm. Did you read comments and stuff like that, or?
Not too often, sometimes. And I usually will address people back super polite, because I believe in discussion. Yeah. And what I have found is that, it's harder and harder now. Nuance seems to be taking an interesting turn. But I also think people have to realize that we need to spend as much time as we can with people eyeball to eyeball.
That's 100%.
And then
So
yes,
important.
it's a tool that we're all using, this social thing. But if it can't be our real lives have to be our real lives.
I know. It's crazy for our kids too. Like this is all they know is social media. This is like they don't know life going outside like we did growing up and all that stuff. It's crazy. And trying to separate that. I'm so happy my son does surf, skate, does everything outside, never had video games. He plays music. He's really into like the outdoors. I'm really, really lucky with that.
Yeah. I have 2 girls that are not susceptible, and my youngest is a bit on the hook to all of it. She's in 10th grade. It makes perfect sense. However, it's weird as a parent. Like it drives my husband nuts. He wants to smash all the electronics and think he's going to will his way to like do it like this. And I'm like, no, we have to be a good example, and we have to have conversations with her about it, and we're gonna have to help her figure out how to manage it.
Yes.
Because I have friends that are like, they shouldn't have any social media. You should take it all away. And I go, cool. And then are you gonna live in their pocket? And how are they gonna manage it? But it's a really tricky thing, and it's like a drug. So
it is, man.
I have none of that figured out. I'll be honest with you. If you said as a parent, right at this moment, one of the things I really have a conflict with is trying to figure out what's, the right and wrong on that.
Yeah. It's incredible being parents, huh?
Oh, it's radical.
I love it. I feel like it's of everything I've ever done with my life, it's the most amazing thing I've ever done. Music, all that, whatever. Yeah. Becoming a dad, not having a dad, just all that.
Well, you're lucky because you have a son in that way that you maybe didn't get to have that relationship with your dad, but you get to have that male relationship. Yes. You're just the dad.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I'm really lucky. Mom, and then I have a respect for my mom now. Obviously, I had some resentment we talked about earlier, but looking back now, her raising 3 boys when my dad died and hustling and bustle and moving all around, like so much respect for that.
It's hard.
It's really hard. And I just have 1 kid.
And 3 sons.
Yeah, 3 boys, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure there was a little bit of hell on wheels too.
Yeah, we were. And I said that we said earlier, but yeah, now I'm going to therapy about it and just trying to like go back to my childhood and different memories I don't have and woulda, coulda, shoulda, and my mom and closure and all that stuff. And I don't know, I just never thought I'd go to therapy. And nobody in my family's ever gone to therapy. My mom, my brothers, no one. I'm the first one to like do it. It feels good.
Yeah, I think sometimes being able to say this is how I feel, or this hurt me, or this made me angry. But then I always I have a friend who goes to talk therapy a lot, and I'm like, okay, cool. Now you got to put it in play.
Yeah.
Like it's good
to get it out. Now you're gonna make moves.
You got to make moves, because the one thing I really I'm tough this way.
Okay.
Is like okay. Like we said earlier, everybody has something, and people, people have really, really intense things where someone hurt them or what have you.
Agreed.
And it's like, hey man, life is happening right now. There's so much beauty usually all around. What can we do? What are we in charge of? And is it unfair what happened before? Probably. Mm-hmm. But like, what do you want to do?
Yeah. To move forward.
Yeah. And I think I see a lot of times that people sort of, it's not that they enjoy, but they don't know how to get out of that. And then they'll use that as a default.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's more of like a map to be like, oh, I understand certain traits of mine because it seems like a byproduct of this thing that happened when I was younger. Mm-hmm. So how do I loosen the grip that grip on me a little bit.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm surprised that for myself, well, not my brothers, but that I didn't go a crazy route. Like, oh, my dad died, so I started drinking and doing this and that. I never tried nothing my entire life, and that was the time and place for me growing up in punk rock and skateboarding and stuff, you know, like.
But maybe the energy could get let out through that.
Yeah.
Through music and through smacking on some cement, you know.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I think
True.
hurt and anger, if it can just get let out.
Some way.
Yeah. It's great.
Have you gone to therapy before?
I have, and I went through something with one of my daughters who now is great and doing good, doing really good. That sort of launched me more into that. And the person that really helped me the most, because and for anyone listening who gets, like, let's say something happens in their world and they get flipped on their back, like with a kid or something, you don't really know how to get help. You have to muddle through till you find the right situation. And the person who helped me was, I had mentioned her earlier, was a woman named Byron Katie. She has a program called The Work. And what I really like about that is she's not here to she has a famous line, I don't have any answers, but I have a lot of questions.
Nice.
And what she does with people is she gives them the tools to unravel it themselves. And once you start to practice, like, is it true? You know, can I know it to be true for sure? Who am I when I think those thoughts? You know, all this, you can unravel even, like, that guy just gave me a dirty look. It's like, oh, did he? Is it true? Maybe that guy's lost in his thoughts and he's having a bad day. And somehow I want to get involved. You know what I mean? So it's like,
it's interesting.
And even in a relationship, I've been with my husband for 27 years. It's like, he can be stomping around and I'll be like, rah, rah, and I can quickly be like, this has probably nothing to do with me. You know, and or
it's about me.
Or I can say, hey, what's up? And if he's like, nothing, I'm not, I can move on from it. But we have a tendency, I think, as people to create all these stories all around us all the time. It's exhausting.
It's true.
So I like, that really helped me. She has a beautiful book called Loving What Is that was very, very, it really was very powerful for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got one now that my therapist has me reading called Grandchildren of Alcoholic Grandparents. So we're kind of tracing it back to, like, abusive grandfather I had towards my mom and my grandma, and I knew nothing about that. Just started coming out, talking to her. So that's interesting, too.
Well, it gives you compassion for your mom.
Yeah, because I have so much resentment, kicking me out of the house and all that stuff. Yeah, it's crazy. We have such a crazy relationship, me and my mom. I love you, Mom. She's amazing, but, like, she's really tough. Massachusetts. Talks like this, Mom, you know, chain smoked her whole life. Just a badass mom, you know.
And you know what? It's also like the set of skills, like, where people were told, you know, 50 years ago, hey, if there's a roof over their head and there's food, you did your job.
That's enough.
And by the way,
no love.
Think about this, being philosophical, pondering, learning, all these things are freaking luxuries. Because you have the space, the distance from the edge of the cliff, which is survival. So think about, like, when people are just trying to keep the lights on, it's like your feelings. Like, come on.
I know.
Are you joking? Like, you want to get, or you wanted to sit here and get philosophical. It's like, give me a break. Like, we're trying to make sure everyone's fed. And I'm not beating you, so I think we're okay. So I think it's, you know what I mean?
So
like,
true. That's the mentality we have back there.
It is.
Are you more of a sensitive, emotional mom, or are you tough?
I definitely am not tough, but
Same.
I would say it just depends. Like, this is a funny line. Katie told me she has 3 kids, and she goes, my 3 children have 3 different mothers, and I love getting to know each of them, because if you ask 3 of my different daughters, I'm a different person.
Got you.
Based on who they are also.
Totally. In that relationship.
Correct. So I have, like, my middle is very, very sensitive. And I'm very close to her. I'm very close to my, to my girls, but she'll say, oh, you've gotten so much better. Like, since she was 14. I'm like, oh, thanks a lot. Like, no, you're so different. I'm like thinking to myself, yes and no, you know, like, you're so different too. Like, Mark Twain had a famous quote about how it was amazing how much his father learned from the time Mark Twain was 14 till the time he was 21.
Oh, wow.
Which just simply means your kids grow up.
Yeah.
Also.
Yes.
And hopefully we continue to improve.
Yeah.
So, and then my youngest daughter, who's same birth sign as me, we have a same kind of like communication system.
Yeah.
Which is very straightforward, not too much emotion, not too like we're not that cuddly. No problem.
Yeah.
I never offend her. Mm-hmm. I can offend my other two daughters all the time just by being like super direct and super intense.
Yeah.
Her, she's like, whatever, like, so it just depends.
Yeah. My wife's like, I guess I'm like the good cop, bad cop. She's more like stern. I'm more like, let's go have fun. Let's go play. Let's go skate.
Yeah.
Try to balance that. But that's interesting. I'm definitely, I don't know if it's because I lost my dad or just all those freaking Disney movies with somebody dying in the beginning, like Nemo, or like a parent dies in one of those cartoons. It's all that.
Yeah.
Super emotional person, man. It's I don't know. I guess.
Well, you're also, think about it, artist.
Yeah.
I think even if you look at like a lot of people who are addicts, they're usually on the more sensitive side. They're feeling the world at a higher volume, and it's probably harder, And so someone like me who's very analytical, mm-hmm. You can be like, what's the problem? It's like, you might say, well, how do I feel about that? And I might say, wait, I got to think about that for a minute.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And so it's just understanding what is our system, that's the more dominant system, and how do we work with that, and grow with that, and also improve like in our relationship. So it's even knowing, like, for example, if I was working in my office and I came out in the kitchen and my one daughter, who is more sensitive, was there, she would pick up on the intensity, but she didn't understand it had nothing to do with her. I was thinking about a work issue.
Yeah.
And so I then could understand, hey, I could say to her, hey, sweetie, I love you. I'm just having like a really intense thing at work. So it's like also even learning that.
Yeah.
Or someone saying, I'm feeling extra vulnerable and wobbly, and I know it's really nothing because I'm more emotional or sensitive.
Yeah.
And I'll work it out.
Yeah. Communication is so important with the kids, man.
Yeah.
From day one, just talking to my son about everything. Him texting us from school going, all my friends are skipping next period. Can I skip? No other kids were texting their parents asking permission to skip a period. But we had this total, and we still have it. And it's beautiful, and I love it. And it's, I don't know, it's just everything. I mean, even 20, he still lives at home, which I'm like, Billie Eilish stayed at home until she was like 19 or 20. You don't have to move out yet. But like that whole like, what's it called? Like the empty nest syndrome. That's really been on my mind as of lately.
Really?
We don't, and it's like we don't even own our kids. It's like you make them, you raise them, go out into the world. Like I don't know. Just when he's gone, it's gonna be like.
But think about this. Is we want our kids, like we do, is to go out in the world and have this kind of really big and dynamic life.
True.
In order to do that, they have to go out there. Yeah. But they may be closer to us. Like, I'll give you an example. I have a daughter right now who's playing tennis. She just flew from Egypt to Turkey.
Wow.
She'll FaceTime me when I talk to her. I feel very connected to her. There was a period of time she was in my house, in her room upstairs, and she was a million miles away. And so
great point.
It's like this thing of heart connection and really what is, and if he's out there and he's turned on by what he's doing and creating in life, man, that's powerful. And you can be like, man, I miss him.
Yeah.
That too.
Yeah.
But the power of like, oh wow, they're experiencing life.
Yeah, and we're missing each other and we're talking and checking in and all that.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I know.
Oh, you are sappy. I like it.
I'm super sappy. But then me and my wife, who've been married since 1996, we get to have a new chapter of our lives, which is me and her again. Yeah. And go out, I don't, you know what I mean? It's like we have that now because he's 20, but we have like the new thing. But it's like, we're always gonna have that bond, me and my son. But I don't regret anything. But sometimes, like, maybe we should have had a second kid. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Listen, no matter who you are, you always have all those.
Yeah.
Some people who chose not to have kids think they should have had one. I thought about this. I have friends now who have little kids. I'm like, maybe I should have had another baby, or maybe a baby, or maybe someone's gonna have a grandbaby. It's like that's just the way it is. But the cool thing is like realizing at any age, like my husband had a best friend who passed away at 84 about 4 years ago. Wow. And that guy was living life to the fullest, trying new things, experiencing things, and expanding. And it doesn't mean buying more things. I just mean expanding as a human being. And he was always a really powerful example of, and there's a lot of books. There's a book called Strength to Strength about, and even, do you know who Stephen Kotler is? He talks a lot about flow state. Flow Research Collective. He has a new book out called Gnar Country, GNAR, like gnarly. And
that's cool.
A lot of times we think our world should start getting smaller as we get older. And he's like, no. He goes, your right and left hemisphere of your brain are really starting to communicate at their best to each other.
Okay.
And it's about continuing, learning new things, doing hard stuff, taking on challenges, doing novel activities outside, all these weird things. And so you and your wife have that opportunity to really be like, cool, you know, what else are we doing?
No, it's true. That's the positive side of it and all that. And just...
Well, what's the alternative?
Like live here till he's 40 now.
I know. And then you'll be like, and then girls will be like, what's wrong with that guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing too is that you mentioned like your daughter doing sports as well. My son plays music too. He's a drummer and now he's playing in my band, which is another thing. So that's like, even if he moved out, he's still playing music with his dad and we traveled together and he's an amazing musician. But there's really, and we talk about too, like him having pressure, like as my son to do this or do that. He's never had meat. He's never did drugs or alcohol like me. And he's 20. And I don't know, just we have that bond, that connection. But as far as like being on my shadow, I guess, and being a musician, like he's doing modeling too. Like he doesn't feel I don't think he feels the pressure to start a band or do exactly what I did. But he's an incredible drummer since he's 4 years old. So
yeah. Well, I saw it. You sent me a video. It's amazing.
Yeah. And I can't play any instrument, so.
Really?
No, it's nothing. I barely sing. I'm just like a punk singer. But yeah, I don't play anything. Yeah, I can probably.
See, but that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and also think about this: even if he plays with you for an hour, or for a long time, or a short time, whatever, how much time do we spend with the people we work with?
Yeah.
A lot.
It's true.
It's great.
Yeah. So when did you start your podcast? It was a couple years ago.
Yeah. So
2019.
Even when I was playing professional volleyball, I used to do a show called MTV Sports.
I remember that. Yes.
So I used to.
To my notes.
Dan Cortez was the
I
host.
Dan Cortez.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
what's he doing now?
I don't know. I haven't seen Dan in a few years. But what happened is he got hurt doing that show. So then he didn't want to do all the weird stuff. So they brought me on. And like Henry Rollins had like a little skit. Remember that?
He was dating Kennedy back then.
Oh, really? He'd do a rant. He was amazing.
He's amazing.
I mean, he is amazing. I shouldn't say was. He is amazing. And on that, he was amazing. Okay. So I always was interested in talking to people because I think, when I was playing professional volleyball and doing stuff, I was interviewed quite a bit. And it was fine, but I was really interested in talking to people and learning from them. So I did MTV Sports. I had a show called The Extremist. I used to do a training show. So I've been in the space of communication. So and my first podcast I did was with Neil Strauss.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
So he was a writer.
Yep. I remember Rich Roll's house one night. Yeah.
Yeah. And so Neil did a book, the very famous book called The Game and then The Truth and such. And Neil's a great guy, but I thought it'd be cool because we're so different.
Yeah.
That it'd be cool to do it together.
Okay. And
also, weirdly, is giving my power to someone else. Neil likes to be in charge.
Yeah.
And it's always been hard for me in certain ways to be like, I'm going to take full ownership of the space.
Yeah.
And then finally, I think, I went into Rogan and then he was like, oh, you should, do your own thing or something.
Yeah.
And I have been thinking about it and then other people. And so I like it. I'm sort of, this is where my competitive side is. And I can be all like, oh, I just will pursue what I like. But there's a part of me that's like, okay, growing and numbers and doing a good job. And I approach everything in sort of this very, kind of intense way.
Yeah.
Which I have to monitor a little bit.
You chill out a bit. Yeah, chill out.
Well, and also remember that you have to do whatever you're doing for the sake of doing it.
100%.
And then just let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the same thing. When I just started this with Conversations. My mom was the first episode, and then it grew into this crazy thing. And then I'm super crazy about sponsors and who I have and who I align myself with.
Yeah.
And everybody's trying to get Manscaped. And I'm like, I'm good. Just different random things. I don't really, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's an interesting world, podcast world.
It is, and I think a lot of what happened is, and you did it prior to the pandemic.
And I banked a bunch too, which I was really happy about.
Oh, really?
You bank them?
Like a few weeks.
I'm crazy, man.
Really?
I'm banked till September right now.
Are you crazy?
I'll show you in there.
How is that possible?
I haven't banked. I'm obsessed.
What's happening?
I have so many because I can go on tour and not worry about it.
Oh, okay, fair.
And none
fair.
of my stuff is like, we're not talking about something current or politics.
I was going to say it's not timely, right? That's so far out. Oh, wow.
Rich told me he does it a couple weeks, maybe a month or two.
I'm about a month.
Okay.
Because I try to also, especially because I talk a lot about health and wellness and all that, I try to also line up with people's book releases, like
totally,
all that stuff.
I get it.
But anyway, so I think it's doing that and really just being concerned with becoming better at it and doing a good job and not worrying about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except for today when everything fell apart, but it's okay.
What do you mean? That's great. It has to happen.
And now it's a way better conversation.
And think about it. It happened with a safe person.
I know. Thank
you.
I know.
See that?
You're so chilled about it.
No, I'm just saying, like, and you have to think about, and you've gone on stage and the audio equipment didn't work. That's happened to you before. Mm-hmm. So it's like you have to have all those experiences so that you've gone through it.
No, it's true. But now I'm gonna get back to
you got your notes.
I get my notes because there's I'm not serious, but there's something that you did with the American Heart Association teaching gardens. Is that something you still do?
My friend
Kelly, so cool, man.
Well, my friend Kelly Meyer created the teaching garden, and so she used to invite me to do the physical fitness arm of it. Okay. But they did sell it to the American Heart Association, and I will say for your listeners,
it's nice. They teach you about exercising and good foods and.
Well, yeah, you know what was cool about this curriculum is you go to these places where some of these kids, like, there's not even any grass or stuff at their schoolyard, right? Yeah. And so they would do these planter boxes, and then the school was awesome. They'd actually yield whatever the kids would plant and figure out a way to cook it and put it into the kids' meals.
So cool.
And we say, like, bottom up, so the kids could go home and also talk to their parents about it.
Awesome.
Yeah. So this program was really cool. And these are the things, like, I certainly take for granted. It's like, fresh food. And it's just also remembering, like, people sometimes, never mind, they don't know how, they just don't have access to the good stuff. Yeah. And so I think that's I feel like if you say that on essentialism for people, it's like, just if they want good food, that's a whole other thing, like good food and the way the system is set up for us not to eat good food and to, for it to taste really good and to be inexpensive, but to really crush us.
So true, especially in schools, like just the healthy options, there's none.
There isn't.
It's brutal.
And what was somebody joke, like FDA, it should be food then drug, administration, not like food and drug, but like shitty food, and then you will be, Do
you know John Badass Vegan, John Lewis?
Yeah, I mean, I know who. I know
Trying to Kill Us. His documentary came out last year.
Yeah.
It was amazing, just the different neighborhoods that don't have that access to good foods and making it like affordable for people too.
And we had something that used to work, and I understand it's there's a lot of people in the world and things like that, and people want to figure out how to monetize everything. Yeah. But we managed to do a pretty good job of taking a system that was probably pretty good and going off kilter. I don't know if parts of it will get better. And I spend all of my shows are really talking about this kind of stuff. I will tell you one thing I'm very optimistic about, which is I can talk to a therapist, like a Harvard psychotherapist who deals with schizophrenia and bipolar or anxiety, let's say. Yeah. So on the intense edge to, like, the lighter edge, to a GI specialist from Georgetown to, endocrinologist, let's say. And what you're starting to see, which is really wonderful and inspiring, is that more and more doctors are saying, okay, we're not treating the whole patient. We're just dealing with the problem. Mm-hmm. We're not dealing with the problem. We're just dealing with the symptoms. And so what you're also seeing is that most of them are sort of saying, hey, insulin sensitivity, chronic inflammation, mitochondrial dysfunction, and like community. And that might show up for somebody. It could be depression. For someone else, it could be cardiovascular disease. For someone else, it could be diabetes. But that these roots cause most of our problems. Yeah. So if we don't have that community, that connection, if we're insulin insensitive, if we're living in a state of chronic inflammation, and if we basically have some kind of mitochondrial dysfunction, and if you want to throw in the microbiome, the gut, which is complicated in itself, let's say the health of that. That if people, when they're sort of trying to figure out, my health, it's like if they can drill down on the things that they can do in their day-to-day lives to help support those things, they're going to get ahead.
Yeah, it's 100% true.
Yeah. And I get inspired because more doctors are seeing it. I just interviewed a woman who is like an OBGYN, right? And then she went back and got her master's in culinary medicine because she realized in her own education, she didn't really understand about food.
Gotcha.
So I see this all the time with doctors.
And diet and all that stuff, right? And health, right?
That's what I mean.
Spend a little bit of time studying that.
They don't know. It's like, that doesn't impact it. It's like, are you crazy?
Yeah.
So it's like more and more, you just see them in all the fields, like really understanding like, hey, the whole person holistically.
Yeah.
And it's also reminding people like, hey, you have to be your own advocate.
Yeah.
You know?
I think a lot of those documentaries too, like What the Health and Game Changers, and a lot of those like really open a lot of people's minds to changing up their diets and the connections, what that has to their health, you know? I really feel like that. And doctors actually recommending people to actually eat your vegetables like our parents told us our whole life, eat your greens, you know? Like,
well, you need the fiber.
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing. They say for women as they get older, they need to find more sources of protein or eat more protein, and they need to lift more weights.
Okay.
Time under tension for your bones. And men, it's almost opposite. Because women will cardio themselves to death trying to stay, quote, and I say skinny. It's counterproductive, especially when they make hormonal changes. And for men, they have to eat more fiber and move around for their heart.
Okay.
So that's what the kind of the studies show. They almost need to do the opposite. So women need to get protein, guys need to get fiber. And then women need to bang a little bit iron. Doesn't mean you got to load it up, just a little bit. And then men need to walk around, and they call it zone 2. If people like drilling down or they want to learn for themselves, zone 2 is a place most of us, if we could live there for 180 minutes a week.
Okay.
And what that looks like is if you take your age and you minus it from 220,
okay, then
you take about 80% of that. So you don't have to be huffing and puffing, but you sort of should be like, a nice little clip.
Yeah.
It's doable at 45 minutes a kind of session. It's really, really good for you.
Did you work out today?
I did. But light. Yesterday was hard. Today was light.
Yeah, I saw some of your workouts underwater with the weights and all that stuff. It's so intense.
XPT. Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
Well, it's only intense but it's not, because it's like anything. It's just bringing some, it's like, it's just an extension of stuff I've been doing. I can take anyone who's never done it and get them to do it.
Yeah.
And I would say that to people, keep trying those novel things, but be guided by somebody who makes it a positive experience for you. Yeah. Whatever it is.
Whatever it is. Yeah, that's super important.
Yeah.
Do you feel good in your 50s? You feel strong?
I do. Same. I feel really strong.
I do too. I love the 50s, man.
Yeah. But I mean, just like you, I beat myself up pretty good. I have an artificial knee. I got one at 46. And that's the other thing. It's like, if you do move your body, skateboarders, holy cow. It's like it's like you have a price to pay. And so it's all part of it.
It's crazy seeing Tony Hawk ripping like 54, 55.
Yeah.
But getting hurt, but getting better too.
Well, yeah. And I know Danny Way very well.
Ooh, okay.
And so that's a guy who's been put together a good 10. Well, do you know who Paul Check is?
Yeah.
So for anyone, this guy is very hardcore. I love him, and he's really, really smart. But he helped help Danny rehabilitate a few different times.
Okay.
But Danny has done some pretty incredible things to his body.
I know, man. He's incredible, though. He's a superhero.
Yeah, he is.
So is internet right when it says that you got a divorce from Laird when you were like focusing on golf too much? You were trying to be a pro?
Oh, no, what happened was Laird and I met Laird at 25. I married Laird at 27. Then at 30, I was thinking of retiring from volleyball, and then I got an offer to try to play golf. And Laird and I went through a very rough patch in our marriage for a number of reasons. Golf was definitely one of them. I was playing tons of golf and I had to fly to Arkansas to train and like crazy, and Las Vegas. Which is probably never good for anyone. And then,
Vegas, no.
Yeah, just run. It's never good. And then, Laird actually used to drink. Nothing. It was an interesting and subtle thing. And he's talked freely about this before, but he drank Pinot Noir, but every day. So he was an alcoholic.
Okay.
For the first 12 years of our relationship.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So, and, for people who don't know, Laird is a big wave surfer, and he's a very intense person.
I love it. I met him the one time. I love his energy, man.
He's one of a kind. Yeah. And he's so special, but he's very intense.
And you have that all day long in the house, 24. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And you know what? One thing about surfers and big wave surfers, you know what they're waiting on? They're waiting for waves. Yeah. And you know what doesn't come that often? Waves. Yeah. So, they're like, okay. So anyway, so
how'd you meet?
I interviewed Laird for a show for The Extremist. So anyway, so we almost broke up. And then Laird, because he's a gentleman, was like, you file the papers. And so what happens is in California, which is quite brilliant, I think it's 3 months or 6 months, you have to wait till they will grant you a divorce. And in that period of time, we reconciled. Awesome. And Laird was like, do you want to try or not? And I was like, I do. Yeah. And Laird taught me a lot. I learned, I was always very scared. And I think even given what Laird does for a living, Laird's a lot braver than I am in a lot of ways. Yeah. And I don't mean running into a burning building, which he would do. I mean, like, the courage to really be loving. Yeah. And he really taught me, like, if you're going to do it, do it. Yeah. Like, put yourself out there. And you know what? It is a risk. Yeah. But people can leave, people can break up, people can die. Like, shit happens. Yeah. But why waste time? If you have it in front of you, if you've actually got someone that you're connected to in a real way, why not go for it? You know? And so that, that was a long time ago. And so we actually didn't get divorced. But sometimes I'll see people and they'll be like, I'll be with one of my daughters and they'll be like, is that Laird's daughter? I'm like, yeah. Because they thought maybe we broke up or something. Wow. Yeah. So it was really a gift. Because also it makes you appreciate.
100%. So he's been sober since?
No, that actually didn't come until a few years later. Okay. And then Laird decided himself. Because, for anyone who's with somebody who does that, you can't tell somebody. True. And you definitely can't tell a guy like Laird. And I never did. And then he finally realized that I think it wasn't going to really work out for his life. Yeah. And so we were having our third daughter, and I think he realized, like, this would be a good time.
Do you surf too?
I used to longboard quite a bit. But surfing's very hostile. And so I don't like to be in combative environments. Yeah. And
it's intense. I've tried a couple of times. It just wasn't for me.
And I love the water. I mean, I'm a water person.
Maybe love the water more, actually.
Yeah, I love it, and I love surfing. But I think I was like, you know what, Laird, that's like your thing. I mean, I'll go and paddle. Where we live on Kauai, on the river, and things like that. But it is pretty combative in certain ways. And I thought, I'm good.
Yeah. Do you kids surf?
I have, they all can, certainly. And my youngest is a longboarder also. She does it so easily. It's like in the cells or something. But, I think it's interesting when you do something and it's different, your son, he's doing a different form of what you do. Yeah, exactly. I think your kids have a tendency to go like, I got to try my own thing. Yes. It's cool for you. Yeah. And like, we have one surfer in the house. Like we have a real surfer in the house. And I think sometimes, legend. Well, no, I'm just meaning like in some ways it's, especially that kind of surfer, I think they're torment, they do a lot of waiting. Mm-hmm. They're waiting for their thing. Yeah. And you can see it's like, it's not as easy. So I also think surfing is a calling. It's like, that's why someone could be sitting in Ohio and they see someone surf and they go, I'm going to do that. Like surfers, it's inside them. You see it with your son possibly. Oh my God. Where it's like, it is a genuine calling.
Every day. Yeah. And he started a little bit before the pandemic. We started going to the ocean when there was nobody on the ocean for the past couple of years. And I remember standing up on my first wave and like feeling something that I thought was kind of nerdy that I heard people say, like, it's connection with the ocean, the spiritual thing. And then when I stood on the board, because I grew up as a skateboarder, when I stood on the board and I felt I was just being pulled by the earth, it was unreal. I couldn't explain that feeling, and that I totally got it at that moment. Oh yeah. Just trying to stand up again, just feeling like it's just pulling you. It's like, it's unreal. And now I get the addiction that my son has for it. Oh, and that's like his natural high, which is like the best thing you could have, so. Yeah.
And I think people get a sense of homeostasis and equilibrium from doing it. I think you're in positive ions. I think you're in something much bigger than yourself.
I agree.
We call it like the church of surfing. You're out at church, kind of. I think there's so many things to it that makes sense. And surfing is, the act of riding a wave. Think about how far that energy has come.
Yeah.
It's pretty far out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Just paddling out's like a workout.
Oh, yeah. Paddling is hard.
And I'm not really a fan of sharks either, so it doesn't really help.
Yeah, but that's just a made-up thing.
Is it?
Shark's not interested in you.
Yeah, probably not, right?
For as many sharks are in the water and people go in there, it's like, listen, sharks, seldom are they aggressive. It's sort of either mistaken identity or something else. But, Jaws did a number on our generation.
It did.
And,
it really did.
Yeah, and sharks are...
Scarred us.
They're pretty magnificent. And
they're beautiful. Yeah.
And they are scary. Listen,
Yeah.
of course, but they don't want to eat you. You're not good eating.
Yeah. Is it true that you had the you outsold Jordan with the first women's shoe? Is that true or no?
Oh, you like Nike, don't you?
I love Nike. Yeah, we talked about it earlier on the first part of the podcast.
Yes.
We lost.
Well, it's funny because beach volleyball, right? We were barefoot, so they gave me at the time, Bo Jackson was doing a category called cross training, which was such a weird novelty, which every athlete now, even in high school, does. But back then, and so I had a cross training category shoe, and Tinker designed it, and we had a big release, and I believe the release did outsell at that 95. Time. Yeah, the Jordans.
Then you had the Air Patrol.
Yep, we had a lot. Yeah,
we had the Air GR2.
Yep.
Wow. That's 4 different styles, right?
It sounds sexier. It's so funny. I remember thinking, oh, this is really cool, but these are all just, I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah.
Maybe because there's a part of it that it's always continuously changing and moving.
Mm-hmm.
I always just sort of observed it and was like, wow, this is really, really cool. And,
you're in it. It's
and I'm working with the best, coolest people. We made the first black training shoe for women. They had never done that. For me was cool because they were like, we don't make black shoes for women. I go, well, hello, come on. Like, get with it.
That is really cool, actually.
Yeah. So those were cool. And I still have obviously some of the SKUs, saved, and they hold up. They look good.
We still have a pair?
Several. Like I have every
in box?
Yeah. Just to have, like I would get the SKU and save it, just
cool.
so you have it. And when I look at it, I go, this shoe looks good. It looks good. Yeah.
I wonder if those are hard to find at this moment.
I don't think they probably exist.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What's in the What's the Malibu Mob?
Oh, that's funny.
And John Cusack's really in it?
Yeah, well, Johnny was. He's since moved back to the Midwest, but...
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I think it was just a group of guys, like Chris Chelios, John McGinley, I think John McEnroe, Laird, Cusack, and a couple other guys. They just seem to hang out and do stuff on the thing, and I don't know how they got the term, the Malibu Mob. But, Chris Chelios, who's was a hockey player, and, McEnroe and Laird, these are from some very specific personalities.
Oh, yeah. Is McEnroe cool?
Yeah, he's a very bright guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's as competitive.
He's a badass.
If he took us to the tennis court and was like, hey, if you said, hey, I'm not really a tennis player, but I just love to hit the ball around, I don't think it's possible. I think McEnroe has one gear.
Yeah.
It's go.
Destroy you.
Yeah, it's really funny.
And he's still playing, probably?
Yeah, he is.
Wow.
Yeah, he's fiercely competitive. Fiercely.
And what about volleyball? You play it still?
No. Because, the problem is, I probably haven't played for about 6 years. I used to play with a bunch of guys. I used to play with men on Kauai. That was how I played until I was about 46, I'd say. It was fun.
That's cool.
And I have a really great partner that's exceptional. So we played together for probably off and on for 20 years. So when I would go to Kauai after my season, I would still play and practice with him.
Yeah.
Even when I was really playing. So I played with him for a really long time. It was
great. What
great.
about golfing?
I do not touch golf because you have to practice golf.
Yeah.
And if you don't, it is one of the hardest, most unfun things to just hack around. And
it's unfun to watch on TV, but I've tried it and it was kind of fun to try a couple of times. It wasn't serious.
No, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And, Laird always jokes, he's like, I've never done anything that takes so long that I have physically done so little, and I am so exhausted.
Yeah.
Because it's very difficult. And think about it, you get counted for your mistakes. Imagine if every time you were in the NBA and every time you shot and missed, they took away 2 points.
Yeah.
So golf is, I always laugh that if you watch a guy win a golf tournament or a girl after 4 days, they're not even happy. They're just relieved they didn't screw it up.
Yeah.
Because you have to have 4 days that you don't implode.
Yeah.
It's a really incredibly mind and emotional, grindy.
Yeah.
It's pretty tough.
But you loved it back then.
I did. It was like a challenge that I sort of was invited to see if I could get my card. And I was interested really in extending my athletic career. And I knew if I could somehow figure out how to do that, I could extend my athletic career, past volleyball and do it longer. Did
you come close to getting the card?
I started having I had my second daughter, and it was just like, forget it.
Dang.
No, well,
Oh, that's nice though. Yeah.
Yeah, it was great.
Wow. What about like a documentary about yourself? Would you ever?
No.
Okay.
It's not that interesting.
How about another book?
I know, it's interesting. I thought about another book.
Because the last book was what, 2013?
Yeah. Was it that long ago already?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I think. Yeah, what was that? My Foot's Too Big for the Glass Slipper.
My Foot's Too Big for the Glass Slipper. A Guide to
Yeah.
Less Than Perfect Life. I love that. I love that title so much.
I wanted it to be Death by Domestication, How Not to Impale Yourself on the White Picket Fence, but they didn't go for that.
That sounds like a punk record.
Well, because it's just like they sell you, girls like, here he comes on the white horse and they're going to save you and all that. And there's something to be said for that, but you realize it's an unfair setup. And now I feel like we swung so far the other way.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's like, where girls are like, I don't need a man and I don't, and I think that's fine too. But I think in a way there's a sweet spot in the middle, which is like, we don't have to be, I've never been combative against the other opposite gender.
Yeah.
Cause I know a lot of good men.
Yeah.
And so I feel like, it's an interesting thing to see where men are scared to act like men. They don't know, like, am I allowed to open the door? Can I tell her she looks pretty? Should I pay for dinner?
So true.
So they're getting squished. And then girls are going like, I don't need a guy. But then meanwhile, who's she going to have sex with? Because I think you want to have sex with like a more guy. Most of us.
Really interesting.
It's like, I don't necessarily want, not to be overly harsh, but it's like, I don't think you necessarily want someone to be your bitch, even though everyone thinks that they do, but they don't. Not really.
Great point.
And I think we've...
The fine line is like
Well, not only that, but we've lost the true beauty. Like, again, I'm around a very hyper masculine male.
Yes.
And all that he is he's the most sensitive person in the house. He's the most helpful, protective. It's all the real things of what... Masculinity isn't someone enforcing their will upon you.
True.
It's, hey, I'm here to support what needs to happen.
Yeah.
Do I need to care for somebody? Do I need to fix something? Do I need to run in somewhere? Someone's in trouble.
Yeah.
And I think we've weirdly, we're losing that culturally. So I would
Great
love
point.
to discover like the nuance of that. And as a 6'3", 180-pound woman, I always felt like I was sure about like my own, when I wrote the last book, I said something about in my home dynamic.
Yes.
I took on, and I can understand the touchiness of the word because we had to fight for certain rights that I did not have to, right? I went to school on an athletic scholarship. Mm-hmm. I wasn't told I couldn't do anything because I was a girl.
Yeah.
So I had the benefit of the women before me. But to be of service is the genuine meaning of submission.
Yeah.
Right. And I also said it kind of as a tongue in cheek in my book about at my house that I was of service to the family.
Yeah.
And people were really frustrated. And I thought, let's see, I played professional sports. I came through this whole thing. I've tried to depict some kind of strength. So that's why I thought I could comfortably have a conversation about also dynamics of when you're in a relationship.
Yeah.
And
people tripped on it?
A little bit. And
that was back then too. It'd be like kind of.
Oh, they would really. Their heads would explode today, I think.
Yeah.
And I think it's okay. It's just sometimes it's like, hey, listen, if like a deer on my road gets hit, it's like Laird comes in and digs a hole and buries the thing. It's like,
wow.
There's just certain things that we're disconnected with because it's like, well, I can order Uber. Yeah, okay. But the way we really live, like if they turn off the power, don't we want people who kind of more naturally gravitate towards Like, we've got to figure this out.
Yeah, of course.
And so, I don't know.
It's interesting.
Yeah, and again, for young women, and not to be vulgar, but like, who are they going to really want to have sex with?
Yeah.
You know, some guy who's like, okay, whatever you say, and, you know, I'm going to put my hand on your shoulder, or just make you comfortable. Is that okay? I'm going to lean in now and kiss you. Are you comfortable with that? Are you joking? Like, I'd just be like, you know, do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's so true. So even like opening the door for somebody now, I don't know if people even do that anymore. And if the girl's like, no, I got it, I'll open it for you. Or like, this is some weird kind of like,
I don't know. And I think force against force is never good.
No.
And so, like, even I can say, like, in my relationship, I have boundaries.
Yeah, of course.
I can walk out the door anytime I want, but I choose to sort of say, how can I make this person's life better? And what happens too is my softness, I see, is almost like nurtures Laird in a way that makes Laird even better. I like that. His better self. And, you know, listen, of course, does he infringe on my boundaries? And I go, hey, you're on my boundaries.
Yeah.
Of course.
Same. We do it to my wife too.
We do.
Yeah.
But it's like somehow putting force on him doesn't make him better.
No.
But being kind, like, I think to anyone, being loving, being supportive, being complimentary to somebody, and being appreciative, then all of a sudden they're more.
Yeah.
And selfishly, if I was really being like a operator, better for me.
Yeah.
You know, better for me. So
it's true.
I don't know. I'm very interested in like a little bit of time when all this shakes out, exploring what that looks like. 'Cause I do have 3 daughters.
Yeah.
You know, they are going to be in relationships.
Yeah. Are they dating already?
My middle is, my oldest is actually married to a girl. And
awesome.
So it's like so I'm not talking about like it has to be a certain way.
No, of course not.
But I'm just interested in human dynamics. And by the way, even in same sex relationships, someone has male energy, someone has female energy.
Yes. Yeah.
Regardless.
Yeah.
It isn't 2 dudes, so they both bring masculine, and it isn't 2 chicks, so they both bring feminine. Someone will take on, and they might even flip and flop, but at some point, it's the masculine and the feminine, right? The yin, the yang. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's...
Yeah, it's okay for the guy if he wants to protect his lady and protect his family. And
and I don't know why we're throwing all like the baby out with the bathwater. I mean, they put the word in front, toxic in front of masculinity, and it's like, so then any trait that's perceived as masculine is not good. But in the meantime, it's like, I don't actually agree with that.
And also, what is manly and what is tough and what is like in this era in 2023, like, because people always say like, I just say vegan. Now you're a vegan. You're weak. You're not strong. I don't know. This is the things they say about people that are vegans. But to me, a vegan, a person who actually cares about animals and the planet and has compassion and love. Yeah. And I think that's manly to me, actually giving a fucking caring about something.
I think that's the ultimate of manly, is really caring about like the collective, right?
Yeah.
Not like, hey, get out. Do you see how much I lifted? And of course, there's those. You know, listen, there's good people and bad people.
100%.
But it's masculinity isn't, it isn't this kind of abrasive. That's not what I'm talking about. And maybe because we haven't seen a lot of it, we're forgetting what the true. I have a ton of friends that are like Navy SEAL guys. Let me tell you, they are the most loving, polite, kind guys. Are they probably badass? Yes.
Yeah.
And if I was like moving and walking, they'd be like, hey, let me take that bag for you. Let me carry it. It's like we've lost a little bit. And that, as a female, because you go, well, guys can't really, they're not going to stand up for themselves. They sound like idiots.
Yeah.
Especially in a world that, listen, there's been some bad behavior by some boys. Okay.
Yes.
So it's like, as a stronger female, I feel like it's okay once in a while to try to have these conversations, because it's going to be hard for them. Then it becomes a men's club. Then it becomes something else. So I don't know. It's interesting.
What about being you, like, with your size and through all the stuff you've been, the relationships, have men been intimidated by you?
I don't know. I mean, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think if they were tricked by the physical.
Well, because you got your shit together too, and you're doing all kinds of things, and you're focused and you're hardworking.
Yeah. Well, I think that's more of like than the person.
Yeah.
You know, anyone I knew that didn't have a game going and they were just straight up or cool and like good people, they're like, oh yeah, okay, whatever. You know, like, so I think that's more about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, obviously my size weeded out a lot of people. And then coming from sports and coming from, you know, I wasn't looking for someone to pay my bills. I was looking for a partner.
Yeah. Yeah.
And listen, to be a partner to somebody is the hardest thing there is.
It is, man.
If we just play roles and one person's paying the bills and one person's taking care of the house, that's different than you go, no, which means can you pay attention to me? Can you listen to me when I talk? Can you help me solve problems? Can I help you? It's like that dance. That's why I give credit to people when they're really in a partnership.
Yeah. It's hard. Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, it's like, yeah.
Well, because it's to give your time. There is the most valuable and difficult thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
we've been in it for a long time. Me and you, 96, 97.
Yeah, long time.
I'm very lucky. To have like a best friend and everything, like a partner and a badass, amazing wife who. Yeah, scares me.
That's healthy though.
From Chicago, yeah.
No, seriously. I feel like when you're a little bit like, oh, with your partner, it keeps you on your toes a little.
Yeah, she yeah, for sure. She's definitely a badass. Came from the punk rock scene. And definitely shoots guns and all that stuff. And it's just, but it balances me, and I'm very lucky that she got to travel with me before my son was born, sell merchandise for the band, and then let me go out and be a big kid. Because essentially, I'm musicians like big kids. We get to go out and do what we do and come back and play music. And
but that spirit can elevate the whole house.
Totally.
So I think if we are smart, we keep helping our partners be in these environments that are good for them, but that also indirectly is a win for whoever is in their life.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
How about when I'm throwing random things at you? I love this shit. This is so fun with you. Elle magazine said you're one of the most beautiful women in the world. Like, how do you take that? How do you absorb that at that age? Do you even care? Like, whatever. Do you think, does it affect your personality, your psyche? I don't know.
No, because it's all games. Like, it's like, you know, the top 10, the top 5, whatever. Yeah. I was on the right shoot, let's just say. And I was with a group of girls, and I guess they had this strategy that the story was going to be. And that was it. And actually that photographer that shot those pictures, I still know.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that didn't. I looked at it. I thought, oh, okay. If anything, that's just stuff that my teammates got to blow me shit on. You know, like I'm at Florida State. They're like, oh, you know. Yeah. So let's not kid ourselves. You miss a ball, and they're like, oh, well, for a top 5 most beautiful women in the world, it's not a very good dig, you know, or whatever.
This is one of your quotes that I love. Is my greatest strengths besides discipline is my curiosity. I love that.
Yeah, I think
it's powerful.
It's true though. I think it, and I live with somebody who's very curious, and so it's nice to have somebody that you can live with that makes that easier. I think all of us need some type of community, or, you know, people love the word tribe or whatever, just to reinforce like, hey, that's okay, you know, or you get inspired by the people around you. But definitely, because the world is changing all the time, so why not try to pay attention? Yeah.
And then getting uncomfortable, like in the ice bath and stuff like that. I see you really kill that. You and Larry been doing it for a long time, right?
Yeah, I mean,
before it was kind of trendy and hip.
Yeah, but these are old practices. So we're just like goofballs who are really late to the party that we were turned on to. You know, listen, this is part of the space we live in. So a lot of the stuff we'll see just a little bit earlier. Yeah. But you're talking about very ancient practices that, you know, it'd be like
Wim Hof.
Yeah, and actually Wim was a great catalyst for this. But if you go to Scandinavian countries, I think they have more than the average house has an average of more than one sauna, right? Mm-hmm. As they call it, they work out. They work out all their personal issues, work issues in the sauna, and they've done that forever. You know, and then cut a hole in the ice, and there you go. So, you know, we're just glad we got the opportunity to sort of, you know, make it a practice. But like, you know, it's like breathing. It's like, okay, well, you have monks that were doing tummo drying sheets on their bodies. So we're just fortunate that we get to, you know, get access.
You do it every day?
I don't know. Laird's better at it than I am. I'm like everyone else. Like, I'm busy and what's for dinner kind of thing. So probably a few times a week for sure.
And yours is straight up ice ice cubes in there?
Yeah. And the reason we do it, I would say to anyone going to do this, like you have a setup where if it's less people, get a plunge. So I like plunge and I like renew. They have a beautiful one as well. And then we do ice in a stainless steel medical tub.
Yeah.
Because we have a lot of people. So ours, it's just more hygienic.
That's smart.
And I got guys who will load it with ice.
Okay.
It's a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
It's like, 12, 14 buckets of ice. And I have a industrial sized ice maker, like a restaurant one.
Okay.
So that's the difference. But I would say to anyone listening, if you say, hey, listen, that's cute for you guys because you can do it, you have the space, you can afford it. If not, even cold showers.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
After 30 seconds, people will get a benefit. There's a lot of hormone regulation, mood elevation. You hear stories. There's a group in England that does a lot of cold water swimming for anxiety, depression.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of power in it.
I think it's so important.
It's very good.
And I think it's a healthy investment. If it's a trend, it's helping people, and I support that. Like,
oh yeah,
I don't know. It's such a game changer. Like my first time I did it was at Huberman's with Rich, and they had the ice and they broke it with a hammer. I went underneath it. It was crazy. It was like such a I can't explain the feeling, man. It's like this crazy high, and you feel like electric. I don't know. Now I'm obsessed with it. I went crazy in it.
Well, and then
I was going too much, like 13 minutes in there. Like,
oh really?
Yeah, then
You thought I'm gonna feel even better.
Well, yeah, I was just pushing myself, and then Josh like, hey man, I see what you're doing over there. You got to chill. I did that before.
Yeah,
you have nothing to prove to yourself. Just like go back and forth. So now I go back and forth.
And more is not more always.
I know. I was trying to prove like how one could actually do this.
I see. Well, I think also people have to, when they do something like that where they're so cold.
Yeah.
There's, I think, a primal response of like, I'm alive.
Yes.
It's
this crazy feeling. It's like it's such a high.
Yeah.
I can't explain it.
Yeah.
And I saw, that guy for Instagram. It's a dude with sign. He holds up a sign on his Instagram. It's huge. He did one the other day.
Okay.
You don't have to tell us that you're cold plunging. It went crazy the other day. And then Andrew commented on there, wrote this whole thing about why it's important to do it. And it was just like, I don't know.
Well, Huberman bit the hook. But I mean, people say that to us all the time, like, oh, But it's okay. The information's out there.
Yeah, anxiety, stress, depression, all that.
A lot.
I've had friends like come do it and get emotional afterwards and stuff like that. Like it's.
And if people ever want to try cold water swimming, if hands and feet will keep them, they can wear booties, and they could even wear a swim cap. So I want to say that there's a lot of ways out there. They do have these clubs, and sometimes those are the kind of points of pressure that will keep people from doing it.
Okay.
And so there's little things you can do to ease yourself into things.
Yeah, I feel like I could do the polar bear club now.
Oh, for sure.
Since I've been doing this.
They do cold water swims now at my house. The pool is like about 52, but then they're doing underwater or swimming laps there and back. And I was like, to be honest, I was like, this sucks. It's out of my league because I had an ice cream headache the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
And they were just like full on layered and the boys were just going full on. I'm like, you guys are idiots. But I know they feel good.
What about wearing like hats and saunas? Is that something we should be doing? Okay.
I mean, listen, some people are allergic to wool, but it definitely lets you stay in there longer.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a real thing.
I mean, listen, all these things are for a reason, right? It's like, why do we put pepper on food? It's like we absorb the nutrients more. Like all of things that exist usually have some kind of actual tethered to a real reason.
Do you ever just do the cold or just the hot?
Yeah, I'll do just the hot.
Yeah, I love the hot.
Yeah, and there's I like Dr. Rhonda Patrick for her data on the heat, like heat shock proteins and just a lot of things of why it's good for you.
Okay. Yeah, I mean it's new to me. It's been like less than a year, but like I love it. I'm so
Did you get your crew in? Like where your wife go and stuff with
My
you?
wife's not really a big plunger. She loves the sauna.
Okay,
she'll get in the plunge. She'll get a little bit in there, a little bit out.
I think the heat is the king.
Yeah.
I think it's, if you said, hey, I think sort of the most, or at least the most studied benefits is the sauna, is the heat.
But then the combo is just like,
that's, now you got Cadillac luxury. It's great.
And you just gave me the layered superfood stuff today, which I'm really psyched to try.
Mm-hmm.
It's like performance, plant-based.
Yep.
Powders, everything, bars, everything, right?
Yep. We have liquids as well, but I brought you all the powders and it's creamers for your coffee. We have high quality coffee. We have plant-based protein. We have bars. We have very good coffee itself. We have hot chocolate. Yeah, we have a lot of stuff.
I'm excited. It's so cool. Yeah, it's really good for looking forward to having it on tour,
Yeah. Well, that's the whole thing is like we want people to be active. So for camping, for example, the InstaFuel products, all you need is hot water and stuff. It's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what about your XPT, your extreme performance training? You still doing that, the lifestyle program?
Yeah. So we even have an event in May in Kauai, and then we'll do one here in California. And that was just based on kind of our pool training and the heat and ice. It's breathe, move, and recover. So we have breathing practices, and I think that's a really powerful tool actually for people. XPT has an app, but I would just say never mind. Like whatever would get people breathing. I really like, a lot of people know Wim Hof. I like Patrick McCune's work. Okay. He has a book called The Oxygen Advantage. James Nestor's book called Breathe was quite good. And just understanding it's free and you can do it anywhere. And most of us don't do it right, including me. And so it's a really, really powerful tool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've been doing it for a while now?
I do. And honestly, like, so sometimes it's like, when you're the shoemaker, you don't have shoes. A lot of times I'm like, I don't have time to breathe, but I know how to do it. So even when just being conscious when I'm sitting at my desk that I'm never mouth breathing. I'm always nasal breathing. We should really only be breathing through our mouth if we're sprinting.
Okay.
Otherwise, deep in the belly, 3 parts breath. So deep in your belly, then your lower ribs, and then your upper, kind of almost like your lats.
Okay.
And if people want to learn to practice, they could lay flat so they're not getting hammered by gravity. Okay. Makes it easier. And a lot of times if you tell somebody, hey, take a deep breath, they shrug their shoulders.
They do, yeah.
Versus opening and thinking of a circular breath for the ribs, making room for the lungs. Gotcha. For women, we hold our tummies because we're always sucking it in. Okay. Let it out. Be soft, and you can fake it. So if you pull in through your nose, you actually just push your stomach out. You'll feel the breath go straight down. So you kind of access that diaphragm. Then you think of this. I always say to people, think of it as a ball that then I'm now breathing up into my lower ribs and opening my ribs. And then if you were laying down into the upper lats, so you could almost feel like, you're lifting yourself off the floor in that big round breath, and then let it out slowly by bringing the belly button to the spine, nose, exhale through the nose. So there's ways.
Relaxed right now hearing you say all that stuff.
And if people do this, like if, let's say you're stressed out, and if you can lay down, great. If you can't, just practice it on your own. If you do that for 2 minutes, you'll kind of down regulate and put yourself into your parasympathetic. Okay. So it's really important. People can use that at work. There's breathing patterns to kind of get ready. Let's say you have a big meeting or you have a show and you got to get fired up and focused. Yeah. There's breathing patterns to do that. If you want to do things at altitude, there's ways to get rid of your CO2 that help that. So once people just get a few of the basics, the fundamentals, it's a really incredible tool.
And for like flying too? If I'm a shitty flyer?
Well, definitely you don't want to be mouth breathing, right? You want to use your filtration system, right? So yes, you want to down regulate and be calm, but then you want to protect yourself because you're in the germ tube by only breathing through your nose. Okay. Yeah, for sure.
You like flying?
I don't mind it. Not to be morose, but my father died in a very small plane.
That's right.
No, so I think, I'm like, the odds of like me going in a plane, I just think are low. But listen, the other side of this is I've been in some pretty, I grew up in the Caribbean, so we used to be in some really small planes, like, getting into the outer islands. And I've been in some flights where I'm like, I'm not going to spend my last few minutes of my life, if this is it, stressing out. Like, kind of like, fuck it. Like, it's like, I'm not going to, it's out of my hands. Like once I get on. So I have a lot of friends, but I think down regulating.
Did you not fly after your pops died from that?
Oh no, I never.
Just kept flying.
Yeah. Plus I was really little, but he also was in a small plane, which is a lot more dangerous. Man. Have you always been scared of it?
My whole life. I don't know why. And it's like, there's
is it
no
like
reason
is it the musician's curse thing, or what do you got going?
It's the weirdest shit. If I tell you right now, you could be like, what is wrong with this guy? I have to sit in the back of the plane by the toilets, which I never use.
Is it because the statistics about survival on it, or what is it?
Now I make my whole band, my wife and my kid, they hate me for it. Mm-hmm. I always book all the flights for the tours. Everybody has to sit in the back row with me. I don't know why.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And if I go into the bathroom, I have to have my son or my wife stand in front. I would not lock the bathroom door on airplane. I'm claustrophobic for it. Okay. I got problems, man.
No, it's okay.
This therapist's going to help me, I hope. Those are my fears in flying, is not crashing.
But what?
I don't know, man. I don't know. It's getting stuck in the bathroom for 100%. And I don't know why I have to sit in the back of the plane. It's so strange. I don't know what the hell that comes from.
You should listen to KD stuff. It's really good.
Okay.
Because I think you'd be like, oh. Because you could ask yourself questions when you were going through it.
Yeah.
Am I going to, it's like,
okay.
It can be helpful.
What was your last real job that you had a boss? You had to like clock in?
Oh, I've never had a boss.
Yes.
No.
You are a boss.
No. Yeah. No, I never had a boss. Are you kidding?
You never had like a little teeny job on the island anywhere?
Oh, well, that's a good point. It was my friends, and I was like 12 and 13, but I worked at my friend Elise and Ron Savage. They had a gift shop called the Shipwreck Shop. I loved it.
So you thought you were going to work at a gift shop?
Yeah, and I used to work, but they were like surrogate family members.
Okay.
But I was working. I mean, but I didn't really. I've never had a boss. I started modeling.
That's amazing.
I mean, I've had coaches though, and they're like bosses.
Yeah, but
let me tell you, my freshman year of college, I was on a scholarship. So your coach, I guess, that'd be as close to a boss as I had. You had to be at practice at whatever time you were training,
but not a way to clock in, drive in.
No.
That's incredible.
Well, That's
freaking bad.
I was in fashion, then I played volleyball, then I think that's why I always like to be an entrepreneur, because it was like, creative expression, and I'll work harder, but I don't really want to
That's that fear. That's the thing we were talking about earlier. I think for me then, like the fear of having to like work for somebody or do something I don't want to do. I don't know, man.
Well, also, you know what it is? Here's the deal for me. Is I don't mind if I'm going to crash and burn, which I've done in certain, startups that we've done.
Yeah.
But I don't want to feel limited. Like I know where the ceiling is. I want to think it's unlimited.
Yeah.
Where I could go, the possibility.
Are you an optimist or pessimist?
Oh, I'm definitely an optimist.
Yeah, I feel that.
I'm not like sunshine, like, oh my gosh. No. But I don't see what's productive about being a pessimist. Yeah. And it's sort of like, that expression drivers say, don't look where you don't want to go. I sort of go, well, if I'm trying to do this thing over here, why would I spend energy being a pessimist?
No, I love that.
So I'm a practical optimist.
Okay. What about, and then do you have any major regrets in your life?
I wouldn't say I do, because like everyone, everything has brought me to here, but
that's true.
I should have stretched more in my life. I wish I had started stretching sooner.
I need to start stretching now since I'm running a lot too. That's so important.
So stretch your quads. You need to stretch your quads if you're running.
So you feeling that later on in life, you should have stretched.
You can avoid a lot of problems if you keep your body supple. And I didn't. And I was a jumping athlete. So and I have long levers. So I'm ready to be tight. And I stayed away from it because it was uncomfortable and I wasn't good at it. So if you said, okay, a regret.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then why I kind of know your daily rituals. You work out every day pretty much, or?
Maybe 5-6 days.
You read every day, read something?
I do a lot of reading.
I have to step my reading game up, man. So bad.
But this is why I do the podcast, because I force myself. Because otherwise, if I was left to myself, I wouldn't. What you have to do is you have to start having some really smarty pants guests, not people like me.
You're smart.
No,
so.
You know what I'm saying. And then be like,
scared.
Oh no, you got to do it. And so, the thing is, this because
I had Huberman on. That was smartest I went so far. Yeah.
Yeah, but he doesn't have a book. Damn Huberman.
He needs a book.
Yeah, I have a joke that I'm going to do for Huberman. I want to make black T-shirts, long sleeve, and on the front, I want it to say Huberman said, and then on the back have all his rules, because I swear to God, now every time I meet people, they're like, do you know what Huberman said? I'm like, holy shit.
My psychiatrist said, you ever heard of Huberman? I'm like, what?
Yeah, so wait, I want to do T-shirts for like everybody that knows Huberman, including Huberman, long black sleeve, in honor of his long black sleeve.
Oh,
and that said, Huberman said, and then just have a bunch of rules on the back, like as Huberman said.
It is so crazy because my friend's like, Huberman said, wait 90 minutes before you have caffeine, get sunlight in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's this back and forth where Rogan's like, go into the cold plunge before you work out, and then Andrew's like, don't do that. It's like a thing right now. It's crazy.
Oh yeah, I heard. I know. I know. It just cracks me up though. And sometimes I love being scientific, but then other times it's like, why not? Just go in the cold. Like, it's not going to hurt you. Oh, here she comes.
We're almost done. But we're just having such a fast conversation. My fucking dog. Where's all my family? Everybody left. Bro, what's wrong with you? You're an asshole.
Come here. Hi. You missed me. What did they say?
Tried to wait to say hello to him off to the airport. That's okay.
Who's off to the airport?
My wife was going to say hello to you, but she took her friend to the airport.
Oh, okay. She's not leaving. I was like, oh no.
No. That's good.
Yeah, really so I'm going to do gifts for Huberman, but just pick people, and they could be. Listen, pick a musician who wrote a book.
Yeah,
because
do that.
when people guests show up and you're prepared genuinely.
Yeah.
First of all, you're going to do a better job, but second of all, they'll appreciate it, and finally, it's like it's forcing you.
Told to read.
That's the only reason I read. You think I'd have time to read?
Audiobooks, no? It's cheating.
Well, no, because I can retain it better and I can make notes better when I read it.
What about music? Like, what kind of music do you like? Do you listen to or grew up on?
I grew up on reggae, and like,
yeah, that's awesome.
You know, and a lot of my stepfather's from Puerto Rico, so a lot of merengue, you know, like merengue and salsa and things like that, and weirdly like steel drum music.
That's cool
because you know St. Thomas, Carnival, my dad, Trinidad, and then when I lived in New York City, I was in New York when rap kind of started.
Nice.
Like in 87, 88.
Same. I moved here in 88. That's when I lived there.
Right. So I used to buy like tapes on the street.
Yeah.
So for my land workouts, I listen to very hard rap because
rap. Okay.
Because it's ever moving. But if I go to my pool, I'll listen.
This is to this day.
Yeah.
Wow.
If I do pool training, I'll listen to something because you have to be really calm in the pool.
Yeah.
Because it's more stressful in a different way. So I'll listen to something softer. So classical for the pool, or even like I'll make a PlayStation off of like a Rufus Du Sol or somebody kind of more melodic-y, mellow.
Yeah.
Because you can't have stuff that ramps you underwater because just your thoughts will burn oxygen. How wide you hold your gaze. Like if I look at you and make my eyes real narrow and chill, I'm burning less air. If I open them wide, think about a sport. If I throw a ball at you, your eyes will open and focus.
Yeah.
But you will burn more oxygen, takes more energy.
Wow.
So in the pool, you're trying to keep everything as still as possible especially when you're under.
Yeah.
To not burn oxygen.
Interesting. What hip hop would you listen to? Like what groups?
I mean, I can go all the way back to like KRS-One and Public Enemy, all the way forward to, you know, my teenage girls will give me like the newest, latest.
Yeah, my
and
son too.
You have to incorporate it because
I know.
otherwise I'm going to listen to the same old stuff all the time.
You got Drake in there?
Of course. And,
Sick.
you know, I don't want to say grew up on Wu-Tang, but I did. And like
same.
all of that. So yeah, no, my kids will bring me all the new, I mean, I even like, I mean, I know it's a different kind, but I love like DMX to work out too.
Love DMX. Incredible.
I mean, come on. It's like, yeah. So I'm open to all of it
cool.
as long as, and the thing for me with my workouts is they have to have a very steady and hard, constant beat.
Yeah.
If the lead in is too long or something, I can't have it because when I go, it's going the whole time. But I'm open to it all.
I saw KRS-One perform in Orange County 2 weeks ago.
Seriously?
He's 57 years old. He was incredible. He
You
came
saw
out
him?
freestyling on stage.
Wow.
It was unreal, man.
What a gift that you got to see him.
He's a big inspiration for me. Like those records when he first came out.
Oh, yeah.
Especially out there.
I used to listen to Kumo D in college.
Kumo D is sick.
Gotta go to work.
Do you remember Coogee Rap?
Yes.
He performed with KRS-One.
Wow.
And then Wu-Tang's coming back. We should go to that. Wu-Tang just played last year with Nas.
One of them is a vegetarian. Who?
They're all vegan. They're almost all vegans now.
Yeah.
The Jizzer, Method Man, the RZA.
The RZA, I don't know if could he be smarter, that guy?
I know.
That guy is, whoa.
They just dropped vegan Wu-Tang wallets last year. I was like, oh my God, this is crazy.
Really?
So I saw them at the Rose Bowl, and they're coming back on the same tour. I'm going to hit you up about it. It was incredible. Crowd, diverse, young, everybody singing. It was beautiful.
Really?
Yes.
I just interviewed somebody from Dead Prez.
I know.
You
Stick.
did? Yeah.
He's so amazing.
He is amazing.
I saw that.
Yeah. It was really nice for me.
Be healthy. There's songs about being vegetarian.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. He's you know, because I'm actually.
How'd you find out about that? I was going to ask you because I saw the other day. He's a crazy runner too.
He is. He's got these running clubs and stuff. Like he runs and he writes music for that.
He's in Atlanta, right?
He is. He wrote a book that's health oriented, and somebody presented it, and I was like 100%, because my thing is this. In a way, if I went to yoga class, right, and I was with a bunch of people that were super bendy, maybe in a different way, I'm working harder and more than they are. Because I'm not. And now, is my chest touching the floor? Maybe it's not. But is that the point? And sometimes when I see someone like him to get into a healthy lifestyle and devote time to writing a book about the 5 principles, it's like, in a way, he's traveled further than somebody who was completely exposed to it. He came through sports. He was in the environment. So it's like, yo, I want to know what in you was ignited that you thought, and a lot of it was his ex-wife was a big teacher to him.
Oh, that's cool.
And he learned a lot, but it's like something inside And bringing that to your community.
Yeah.
It's really badass.
I mean, they have songs on the record, on the Des Pay record, like, I don't eat no beef, no pork, no sweets. I can't remember.
No, I mean, he's really, and I really appreciate that. Like for me, it's people like that inspire me, because I'm like, man, they traveled even further.
100%, man.
You know?
Yeah. And they were talking about it a long time ago on their records too. Like,
I know.
When really nobody in hip hop was talking about it.
Yeah.
There's a lot more vegans now in hip hop, and a lot more people talking about it, and just being more conscious what they put in their bodies and the connection between what you eat and the environment, everything. I think, especially coming out of the pandemic, I think more people are more conscious about what they're doing. I hope. I don't know.
Yeah, my hope is that we understand that obviously besides our loved ones, our health is the number one commodity that we own.
Yeah.
It just is.
Yeah.
And, hopefully we don't have to lose it to want to take care of it. Unfortunately, that's usually how humans work. Yeah. It's like, oh shit, now I have to deal with it. Instead of, hey, maybe I could avoid some issues later and really, really take care of it now. I think it's also even like love, right? Like, how do I nurture and take care of this? Not like, oh, now someone's walking out the door and I go, no, wait, I can do better. Yeah. But like in front of us, totally. Like really, really do it.
It's really true.
And then the other side though is there's just so much. It's very combative. I feel like the world, everything is like very black and white and combative. And my hope is that we still can find pockets with each other to, even like be different and agree. Yeah. I mean, like love each other respectfully and be different. Not like, hey, listen, if you don't do everything the way I do it or believe it every way I do, then, I can't know you. It's I hate
that happens so much the past couple of years. I have friends, my wife's not straight edge. She drinks. Like I have friends who aren't vegan. I have friends who aren't straight edge. I have friends who don't like this music. I have friends who are political, friends who are not. And I love them all. Yes. And we can have conversations. Like, I don't know. I think that's so lost right now. There's such a division. It just feels like a division. Yes. It pretty much is. But yeah, I have so many friends, and people kind of trip on me if I do a post like that. Like, I did a post once, like, I have friends who this and this and that. They're like, how can you hang out with that person? They're not vegan. Oh my God. I'm like, really? Yeah. Are you serious? It's like.
And I think and I actually feel that maybe more of us feel similar. It's just that the outside noise is so well orchestrated and so loud. And so it's just that constant reminder to let people know most of us feel more similar in the sense of we would accept someone different.
Totally.
And so how do we recognize that the, outside noise is, like I said, well organized and loud. Yeah. And not really buy into it and keep like, it's like even when you go on the street, like go to the market, whatever. It's like just keep, connecting with everyone and being together, because when I talk about wanting to be healthy and wanting to be strong and powerful and successful, all of that is part of that formula.
Yes.
It isn't, oh, my business is crushing it. Let me tell you how much I train. It's like, no, it's like, can I have these elements of my life intact?
Yeah.
And every person I've ever met that I really respected and thought was a true like superhero badass, they were usually kind of the most loving people I ever met.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that's a whole other conversation. Like I said, if I hung out with every single person that was exactly like me, it'd be so boring.
Oh my God.
What are we going to talk about? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It really bummed me out how people just shut people off the last couple of years for certain things and this and that. It was just sad. It was
and different stages. That's the other thing we have to remember. Where that person is in their journey, they might be in a different place, and that's what they need to do at that time. True. So maybe they want to have a cocktail, or they want to eat this, or they want to, worship a God that's called that. It's like, that's where they are in their journey.
Totally.
Yeah.
I don't judge them. Is your family pretty all healthy eaters?
Yeah, they are. Yeah. I mean, they are. And even like the youngest who wants to like eat weird sometimes, like take away food, it's like she ultimately is even healthy. Yeah. You guys have sit down dinners and stuff still? We do. It's so important. I joke. We had that too, man. It's so important. You have to. My family, we joke though. It's like, I'm like, we are a family and we're going to sit and enjoy each other at dinner. It's like, no phones. Yeah. The kids are just like, I'm like, see, isn't this nice? It's like, oh my God. Food. Yeah. But it is important to have that structure. I mean, we tried my wife,
all goes to my wife having those dinners and after school
Yeah.
and all that when Max was young. It's so important, man.
Oh, it is.
Because I didn't get a lot of that growing up, and neither did she. And just to have that sort of structure for him, it's
It
like...
is. And you can see them. You can look and be like, let me check in. Let me see what's going on. How's their day? But it's so funny. I feel like I'm like because, you think every other family really loves each other more than yours. And like I watch my one teenage daughter and I think, oh, and then I'm reminded every family is crazy in doing it.
Of course.
I joke about like going to the airport and seeing people who come on holiday. And, have you ever gone on holiday with your family?
Not much.
Okay.
No.
Well, by the end, we try to avoid it, but it's like by the end, you're like, did you get that bag? And you're yelling at each other in the airport and everyone's tired and frustrated and whatever.
You see fresh people coming to
and you're like, look they love each other, that family.
It's just getting started.
It's just the chaos. It's the total chaos.
I'm going to leave a quote that one of your quotes too. It's okay to show all sides of yourself, be whom you truly are to make a better life for yourself. I love that.
Yeah. I mean, we're a lot of things and the world tells us, hey, you can't be one if you're the other. And I think it's that self check-in. Who am I? How do I want to contribute to the world I live in?
And we're not perfect.
Well, I think the minute we can get to that, the sooner the better.
Yeah.
Then we're liberated that's even part of the deal.
Yeah.
And that also is not the goal.
Yeah.
Is that the goal? I mean, if I could love my husband or my children perfectly, which I can't, that would be pretty cool. But
Same.
I can't, because that's where all the lessons are.
Yeah.
I changed because of all the ways I blew it. Not because of, and in using a sports analogy, it's like losing is all the stuff that teaches you. You never really learn anything from winning. Winning was just the execution of the lessons,
What was the biggest accomplishment for you think in your life?
I think the fact that I'm still married and have a family.
Awesome.
I really think I'm surprised because and this is what I'll say to
you feel like you don't deserve it?
I just didn't think I would be a person who could pull it.
Yeah, could pull it.
Or that I picked a partner that helped me pull it also.
Yeah.
But I will say this.
So lucky, man.
Is that, and we talked earlier, I almost, got divorced, is sometimes if you can stick through long enough, when it's hard, you can get to the other side. But also, what I want to say is every day I just try to do my best. My expectation is not, Laird and I are going to be married forever. I don't know the answer to that. All I know is when I woke up today, I said to myself, very much on purpose, I'm going to go downstairs and be as nice as I can, and I'll earn it today. Because I don't know. And I sort of made that a thing maybe 15 years ago or so.
That.
And that sort of helps.
Yeah.
And like make yourself happy. That's the other thing is like,
It is important.
I'm someone's mom and I'm someone's wife, but I'm just me, and I still have to have a mission for myself.
And time for yourself too.
Yeah. And so I think that especially for women, because it makes perfect sense why we would also put a lot of people first. And also if you are in a relationship with a man, to support them having a mission because it fulfills them. And I think that kind of understanding is super important.
Yeah.
You
saying that's like, wow, I can imagine my life without my wife, or like being single in Los Angeles in my 50s. And oh my God, and those apps and all that stuff. I can't imagine being single and not with my wife. It's crazy, but anything.
But you got lucky finding her early. And conversely, if somebody hasn't had that good fortune, Laird always says, there's always every Jack has his Jill, or every Jill has her Jill, or every Jack has his Jack, or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's also remembering for people like that too.
Yeah. Very lucky, man. Very lucky to do what I love, and people that love me I come home to, and all that stuff. It's like,
well, and you guys are healthy.
Yeah, we're healthy family, man. Active and take care of ourselves. And
what do you, with your audience, when they listen, what is your hope when you have your conversations for them?
Hope they get inspired by people and hear these stories and hear people's journeys, and people that believe in themselves and don't give up, and just everything, trials and tribulations. And me and you we're both coming from losing our dad, and that's a crazy connection right there. And just the lives after that and your journey before. I don't know. It's just, this is a great conversation. I'm happy that it worked and we got to recording to work. Just like your journey and stuff, and humanize you as a person. And people see you as Gabby Reece and all the stuff you've done, but you're just a human being that makes mistakes. You know what I mean?
I could have brought my daughter here. One of them, they would have been like, "Let me count the ways."
Yeah, just humanize people. I think people what they like about this conversation is that it's like just talking to people that think that maybe we would never even have a chance to meet in our lives, and we met, and here we are talking. I don't know. It was great. Your story's incredible, and your journey's incredible, and
well, thanks for having me in your home.
It's inspiring, of course. I appreciate your patience, and for the listeners too. And maybe I'll find the first part of it. Probably won't, but yeah, I'm stoked to hang with you guys more and try your stuff and take it on tour. And
yeah, you can come do Heat and Ice.
Oh yeah, I want to do it with you. Like you guys are the OG pros. I think you have a big pool too, huh?
We have a big pool, yeah.
It's a wave pool, right?
Well, I've layered wishes. No, it's not.
Okay.
It's just deep, and it's good for training.
Is he in the water every single day?
No, because if it's, I mean, he'll go when there's something. But this is a person who surfed a lot, but he gets, it gets hard on him. But he'll find ways. He'll go paddle and go do other things.
I like when my son asked him. He said, "Do you ever wear shoes?" He said, "Yeah, when I go snowboarding."
I know. He just got back from Alaska.
Oh yeah, I saw that too. Yeah.
He got back the other day.
And you said something that was interesting too that day. Was like, I don't know. He's better. I'm not saying he's better in the water than he is on land. I don't know. It's it's interesting how much time he spent in the actual water his whole life.
When he gets in the water, his whole physique even looks different.
Damn.
It's like he gets activated. It's really cool.
It's amazing, man. What an amazing human, dude. And that's your husband. And he's got an awesome woman too.
He is very special.
Well, thank you for your time. Thank you for everything.
Yeah.
And we'll do a part 2 someday where it's, we'll see what happens. We'll catch up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. I always ask my guests if they have any regrets. I personally don't have any regrets. Even when it comes to my tattoos, I have the silliest tattoos. Even my ET on my leg, it's still a childhood memory for me, and I love it. I've had tattoos on top of tattoos strictly because I wanted more tattoos. I started getting tattoos when I was 18. I'm 52 now, and I can't stop. I've had laser treatment before on something on my arm. It's 4 tattoos on top of each other. And that experience at that place was pretty fast. It was pretty cold. It was in and out, swipe the credit card. Don't really tell me much. Didn't give me much details or anything was going to happen. So I never went back. So as of most recently, I'm so lucky enough to have had 2 sessions at Removery Tattoo Removal. My tattoo on my arm that looks like a big black blob is now super light. I've had 2 sessions. I have a long road ahead of me. None of this stuff happens overnight. You cannot take a tattoo up in one sitting. You have to be patient. And it's painful. They ice you up. It's super fast. To me, it felt like a bunch of rubber bands. But what's more painful than that is looking at something on your body that you think you're stuck with for the rest of your life. That sucks. But now for me, I'm really happy I started this journey. I'm slowly going to get this tattoo removed. I never thought in a million years I have any kind of real estate on my arm. I don't even know what I want, but it's exciting. I'm so honored to announce that One Life One Chance podcast is now with Removery. I have a code. Use TobyH20 and get $100 off your first session. Call 866-934-4570 or go to Removery.com. One of the most experienced tattoo removal companies in the world. Over 600,000 removal treatments done. 100 locations, US, Canada, and Australia. State-of-the-art peak-away laser technology, cryotechnology to reduce any discomfort. This is so exciting for me because all I do in these podcasts is talk about tattoos. From day one, if you've been listening to this podcast, talk about tattoos, talk about getting removed, talk about getting covered up. So this is such a perfect fit for me. Once again, go to Removery.com or call 866-934-4570. Use my code TobyH20 and get $100 off. These guys are located everywhere. Try it out. Yo, people always ask me what kind of frames I'm rocking. I've been rocking Caddis for a couple years. They make amazing progressive readers, which I wear. Also, they make sunglass readers, anti-glare, anti-smudge coating, anti-scratch, and anti-aging. That's why I look mad young when I wear them. I'm just kidding. But they make amazing frames. Caddis, so stoked to have you guys part of the podcast. You can go to caddislife.com/Toby10 and get $10 off your first purchase. Stoked. Thank you, Caddis. Welcome to the fam.